Hi everyone, my name is Gwen and I am a super fan of J.T. Bishop's books, and so I am just delighted to be here today to help celebrate the launch of Judy's latest book, Murder Unveiled. And I'm inviting Judy to join us because I know it's Judy that you're here to see, not me. So I'm going to try. Okay, my apologies everyone. I always have problems at this point with getting the live to work. I don't know why this is so hard. Everyone else seems to be, everyone else seems to be able to do this very easily. Oh, okay, we'll get there, everyone. We'll get there. Oh, I think
Ah,
that's a good sign.
wait a minute.
There's,
I turn around.
so there's two little arrows at the
Okay,
bottom. Like tap that, and the screen will turn around.
turn left. I don't see the arrows. Oh, wait, here. I found it. Got it.
Yay!
How did it go so smoothly in the practice? And then we can't get on.
I know, exactly. It's just typical, isn't it? It's just so typical.
I was like, I don't know what else to
I
do.
know.
What do
What
I
else?
hit?
We're pressing all the
I'm
buttons.
pressing all the buttons.
Well, we're here now, everybody. I'm just so
Yes,
excited. Today is
we're here.
launch
It is
day
launch
for Murder
day.
Unveiled. So it is now available on Amazon,
Yes,
and you can get Murder Unveiled as a paperback and an ebook.
yes. And hardback.
So, and hardback, fantastic. Okay, so I have some questions here for you about your book.
Okay,
And the first thing I was going to ask you is, can you tell us about the plot of Murder Unveiled? Just give us an idea of what
of
happens.
course. So, Murder Unveiled is about the murder of an art dealer who's very prominent and very well known. Um, and he has purchased a brand new painting that's very famous called the Crimson Tiger. And he's murdered during the unveiling of that painting. So, of course, my characters, Detective Daniels and Ramallah, and if
Mm-hmm.
you watch me, you are familiar with them. They are assigned to investigate. So, of course, there is a slew of suspects, all of them with their own troubles and unusual characteristics. So
Mm-hmm.
they will have to, you know, do their due diligence, go through all the suspects, and find the killer. And that is
Mm-hmm.
what Murder Unveiled is about. And the Crimson Tiger is supposedly a cursed painting. So
Oh,
we've got a little bit of that in there too. It's fun.
yes,
It's fun.
that's true. And it's very glamorous too. I remember that's the first thing because I have had the privilege to have a sneak peek at the book,
Yes,
and
you
so
have.
yes, and so I love the scene where you introduce all the characters. I just
Yes,
love, the description of what they look like and their
yes.
manner and everything, and you just think, wow, this is an interesting group of people, isn't
It's
it?
it's an interesting eclectic group of people because the murdered victim, his name's Rowan LaRoche, runs with a pretty upscale crowd.
Hmm.
So I came up with some very, I would think, interesting characters.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So in this beginning, at the scene where Daniels and Ramallah arrive, so
Right.
you're gonna read to us from that
Yes.
scene.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. I tried to pick things that weren't too long, but I wanted you to kind of get into the story. Okay, so this is where the murder has occurred. They show up at the house, Rowan LaRoche's house, and they are walking towards his private gallery where the murder occurred. So we will go from there. They followed Reynolds down a long hall with a dark wood floor covered with a plush oriental runner. Rem admired the art on the walls as they entered another foyer area where more art covered most of the wall space. Daniels whistled. They weren't kidding. He stopped in front of a large painting where two angels with huge wings were fighting a demon. Look at this. I think this is a Diego. Rem eyed the painting. What's a Diego? It's the artist, Samuel Diego. He died about 10 years ago. His stuff goes for a lot of money. Rem narrowed his eyes at the picture. I don't see the appeal. It's all in the eye of the beholder. Rem looked around. I don't see any velvet paintings of dogs playing poker. Daniel smirked. Rowan LaRoche wouldn't be caught dead with that in his house. My dad had one when I was a kid. Exactly. Daniels followed Officer Reynolds through a set of double doors and into a smaller oval-shaped room. This is the gallery, said Reynolds. Rem followed Daniels and stopped short when he walked inside. He couldn't believe the amount of artwork. Colorful paintings, large and small, covered the walls. Statues stood on pedestals and smaller works were behind glass displays. In the center of the room, sitting on an easel, was a portrait of a tiger. Its gaze held Rem's attention, and the shades of red and gold the artist used gave the animal a majestic look. Its eyes seemed to follow Rem as he approached it. Daniel stopped in front of the picture, his mouth open. Is this what I think it is? It's a tiger, said Rem. Daniel stared, his eyes wide. Wow. Rem shrugged. Haven't you seen a tiger before? Daniel sighed. Of course I have, he pointed, but this is the crimson tiger. Even I've heard of this. Great, Rem pointed. How about we check out the body? Let's hope it isn't crimson too. He headed toward Reynolds, who was standing beside the remains of Rowan LaRoche, whose body was lying on the floor beside an ornately carved wooden desk. Rem stood over him, and Rowan's death stare told Rem that Rowan's last moments had not been good ones. Damn, that's definitely not a heart attack. Heart attack? Asked Reynolds. Rem straightened. I was hoping. Daniels leaned over the body. We got a time of death? Reynolds flipped open a notebook. Ibrahim says 2 to 3 hours ago, one of the staff members found him like this. Her name's Dominique Lorenz. She's outside the room talking to Gonzalez. She's pretty shook up. Rem squatted beside the body. What's her story? Reynolds flipped to another page. LaRoche was throwing a party for a new painting he purchased, something about a red tiger. Crimson, said Daniels. Sure, said Reynolds. LaRoche unveiled it in here and then stayed while everyone else went back to the party. Dominique came in to clean and found him like this. I don't see any marks on his neck, said Rem. Daniels looked closer. Look at his bloodshot eyes and purple lips. Plus, he's clutching his neck and has scratches on his skin, like maybe he was fighting to breathe. Maybe not strangled, but what about suffocation? Somebody could have put a bag over his head. Rem straightened and eyed the half-filled champagne glass on the desk. Make sure forensics bags that and gets a sample of the champagne. Reynolds nodded. Will do. Daniels raised a brow. You thinking poison? Rem gestured toward the door. Crowd like this, guns and knives are beneath them. Poison is right up their alley. No muss, no fuss. I don't think LaRoche would agree. Daniels looked around the room. We need to find out if anything in here was stolen. Rem glanced at the painting on the easel. I guess that fancy tiger wasn't the target. Maybe not, but it's a distraction. Daniels walked over to the painting. Think about it. LaRoche throws a party to show off his latest acquisition, which is nothing to sneeze at. This painting is a huge feather in someone's art gallery cap. I can't imagine what he paid for it. Rem studied the tiger. It's just a picture. Not to an artist or dealer. Assuming LaRoche threw this party to show it off and gloat, which I've heard is his style, then maybe our killer used this party as an opportunity. Rem put his hands on his hips. So they wait until LaRoche is alone, kill him, and return to the party like nothing ever happened. Maybe. Rem shot his thumb at the painting. All because of this? This could be just the catalyst. Maybe this isn't the first time LaRoche bested his killer with a victory lap. The grudge may run deep. He looked around the room. There, look. He pointed up in the corner. That's a camera. Rem perked up. Hey, Reynolds. Reynolds walked over. Yeah. That camera, said Rem. We need to see the footage. Any idea who can get that for us? Reynolds eyed the camera. Not sure, but I'll find out. Thanks, said Rem as Reynolds walked off. What are the odds our killer's on film? Daniel shook his head. Don't count on it. It's never that easy. I can hope, can't I? Feel free. Rem glanced around at the other artwork and settled back on the tiger. Well, we've got a room full of potential killers and Dominique, who found the body. Who do you want to talk to first? Let's start with Dominique, find out what she knows. What if she's the killer? Then let's pray she confesses. Daniels turned to leave, but something tells me she won't. Between the media, LaRoche's connections, and his fortune, this case has nightmare written all over it. He paused. I hope you ate your Wheaties this morning. Wheaties, asked Rem. Try a big cup of coffee and that's it. I've got a sprouted vegan protein bar in the car if you want it. Rem made a gagging noise. I'd rather partner with Titus or Georgios. Daniels offered him a sideways glance. It wouldn't hurt you to eat something other than a donut for breakfast every once in a while. Maybe so, but nothing with the words vegan or sprouted should be planted. Anything with the words vegan or sprouted should be planted in dirt, not consumed. One of these days, your skin's going to turn green with all the veggies you eat. Better than neon white, considering all the sugar you eat. Rem patted his stomach. I'm as fit as ever. They returned to the foyer. You sure about that? Asked Daniels. I heard your breathing when we climbed those stairs the other day. Rem dropped his jaw. That was 12 floors. Well, thank God it wasn't 13. Rem frowned as he followed Daniels toward a woman in a staff uniform standing in the hall talking to an officer. Daniels chuckled. Come on, partner. Let's talk to Dominique. So that's the
Oh, very exciting. And I
yeah.
love that scene because it really shows the dynamic between Daniels and Ramallah, and because they're old friends and they've worked together for a very long
Yes.
time, and so yeah, and they both have their quirks, don't they?
Yes, they have their quirks. They have their various, you know, they're sort of like the opposites in many ways.
Yeah,
But for lots of people who've read their books, that's sort of what draws them in is their relationship and their banter,
yeah,
um, and how they help each other out. And, that's sort of the core of the story, I think.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And so if someone was wanting to read Murder Unveiled, like where does it come in the series? Because there have been several Daniels and Ramallah books.
Yes,
So
there are
where does
several.
it, yeah, so where does it come in the order? And if someone picked up this book, not having read any of the other ones, would they be confused or would they be absolutely fine with knowing what was going on?
I think they would be fine. I wrote this book and I made it a prequel. So I kind
Okay.
of wanted it to sort of be an entry point into the series. Right now, the Daniels and Ramallah series starts with a book called Haunted River. So,
Hmm.
and that's a fun one. You like ghost stories. Uh,
Yeah,
but I
yeah, it's a
designed
brilliant
this
one. Yeah.
Yes, I designed Murder Unveiled to start before Haunted River. So anyone could jump in and start the series and not be lost. So that's kind of what I wanted it to do.
Yeah. And this kind of in Murder Unveiled, because they're very much a team, Daniels and Ramallah, it's the two
Yeah,
of them, and there are other partnerships in the police station,
yeah,
but it's really mostly those two. But in Murder Unveiled, you introduce a new character, and I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about her and why you wanted to introduce her, and because she is I think I mean, it's amazing. I really loved the way that you worked with her in the
yeah.
story and brought her in as a major character. So, what was your inspiration for her? Inspiration
Yes,
for her? And are
yes.
we going to see any more of her?
Well, her name is Phoebe Reinhardt. And I figured if Daniels and Ramallah are going to be, hunting a killer in the art world, they're going to need somebody to help them because they don't know anything about art. So we bring in another detective, and her mother works for the FBI Art Crime Division. She's got the background, and she knows all about, what it is they need to solve this crime. So she joins them. Her partner, she's from a different division. Her partner's on sabbatical. So this is an opportunity for her to join and help out Daniels and Ramallah. And I brought her in because initially she was just going to help him out, but then I gave her I decided she needed some backstory and she needed some drama. And what I have found with this book, Murder Unveiled, as I wrote it, is that I got some very interesting female characters, some very strong female
Mm-hmm.
characters. I have one um, who's a very prominent art dealer who competes with Rowan LaRoche.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Evelyn Sinclair, and she's all about ambition, getting to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's driven. And then we have Daniel's wife, Marjorie, who had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to do all of that, but instead chose a career of helping others. And she's devoted to her family, her husband, and her child. And then we have another character who's a suspect. Her name's Isabella Grimaldi, and she uses her wiles in a very different way,
Mm-hmm.
conniving, cunning, gorgeous, and she sort of uses men for their power.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Phoebe, and Phoebe was sort of like an interesting character to develop because I wanted her to be a little bit more, vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got an interesting backstory where she's got trauma in her life and she's
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what she wants to do with it. She finds love in all the wrong places, and she doesn't know that she's in the right place, and she's trying to please people. I know she's a people pleaser. So her relationship with Raymond Daniels sort of, you know, develops because they sort of help her. They kind of talk her through things and kind of help her to see herself differently. So it was a very
Mm-hmm.
nice dynamic between the three of them, and I'm really glad I introduced her.
Yeah, I love her. I think she's brilliant,
Yeah,
and
she's a great
and I
character.
liked. Yeah, I think maybe it's just kind of one of the habits that you develop reading books. But when she came in, and I thought, okay, who's Judy going to match her up with?
Yeah,
And
I know.
so, and so I thought, well, it can't be Daniels because Daniels is a rock solid family man. And
He's a
so
rock
maybe it's
solid
going
man.
to, yeah. And although there's a little bit of, something going on with Daniels and a little iffy, maybe going on in another book of yours.
Right.
But with Ramallah has his own sort of very complicated romantic backstory.
Yes, he
So
does.
it's a really I love the way that you dealt with that, and I thought that she was a fantastic character. So I hope that you're going to bring her into more books. I don't know if you need another art expert in future books, but
You
I hope
never
that she
know.
comes back.
Right now, she might come back. It would be fun to bring her back and kind of see where she ends up.
Yeah.
I don't have her yet, but you never
Okay.
know with me. I might surprise you.
It's true. Well, she might surprise you.
She might
Just turn up in your
surprise
book.
me. This is very true. That's what happens. That's
Yes.
typically what happens. Yeah.
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 So the book it is about the art world, and I was so excited when I heard that you were writing this particular story because I love stories like this, mysteries going on in the art world. It's such a
Right.
fascinating kind of bubble world.
Yeah.
And I know that you yourself, you have studied art, you trained artist, and you really like modern artists like Jackson Pollock.
Right.
And so I was reading this book, and I don't know a lot about, modern contemporary artists. And so I was reading your book, and you were naming all these artists and paintings. And I thought, well, are these real people? And I don't know anything about these people, and naming their paintings. And there's a plot point. There's a very important plot point in the story that revolves around a painting like that. So I just wondered if these are real artists, or did you create them for the book?
I created all of them. I did not. I think
Brilliant.
there's one exception. Well, I do mention Jackson Pollock.
Uh-huh.
I make him sort of Marjorie's favorite artist, of course.
Yeah.
And then I
Yes.
did mention one because there's sort of a theme that goes through between Rem and Daniels about, Rem loves his velvet paintings and Daniels is so
Yes.
ridiculous.
The Velvet
And
Elvis. Yes.
yes, the Velvet Elvis. And so Phoebe makes a comment and says, actually, there's, a famous artist named Edgar Leetag
Mm-hmm.
who does velvet Tahitian paintings. He is real.
Mm-hmm.
He's an
Okay.
actual
Interesting.
artist who does velvet Tahitian paintings.
Wow.
So I thought, well, let's throw him in
Yeah.
there because I had no idea. And so Ram's like, well, see, I'm not so stupid.
That's
So
right.
I thought he
Yeah.
could be a good one, but everybody else is all made up. All made up.
That's fantastic because the way that you deal with it, I just thought, oh, this is all these people. Wow. I'd have to go look them up and see.
No, yeah, you can look them up, but you're not going to find much.
No, no, that's right. It's all going to refer me back to Murder Unveiled.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. And a lot of your books, I think most of your books, maybe all of your books, have some element of the thriller in them in different kinds of
Right.
ways. So I wondered if you could tell us how you like writing the thriller, because it's very different. You know, there's so many components that go together to make a good murder mystery. So how
Right.
do you like the thriller elements, like, you know, someone dangling off a cliff? You know, how do you like to do that? How do you get these ideas?
Well, I mean, that's the fun of being a thriller writer is coming up with these sort of exciting, dynamic action sequences.
Hmm.
Not only going on the path to finding the killer, I mean, because that's all fun too, but at some
Hmm.
point you kind of need to throw something in there that's unexpected.
Hmm.
There needs to be some sort of unexpected moment, and that's
Hmm.
what makes writing fun for me.
Hmm.
So those are the moments when they pop in. I love those moments. They're just fun for me
Hmm.
to write. So for me, it's not particularly hard. It comes pretty naturally. I
Hmm.
kind of get a sense of when it's time for something to happen.
Hmm.
So I think, okay, what's going to happen? Let's find out.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, because I mean, I've tried to, you know, write this kind of scene myself because I
yeah,
just sort of write for myself, but and it's actually really hard
yeah,
because you know it's hard to make it sound realistic rather than just a list of things that happens, and then he turned around and then he tripped and then he fell and then you know, but but you've always got this, and actually the other thing that I think you do really well is you describe. I can see what you're describing
yeah.
because I just finished a book the other day and there was this very long, complex, exciting thriller scene, and about halfway through I was like, "What's going on here? Who, who's got who by the neck? I don't understand that." But your books, but your books don't do that.
Okay.
So that's really
Good.
that's really exciting, and I think that you've got another scene to read
Yes.
us from your book,
Yes. Yes.
and this is
So
a
of course,
thriller sign.
it's
Yes.
an action sequence.
Okay.
So what this is occurring while Phoebe, Daniels, and Rem are interviewing suspects, and they go to talk to LaRoche's daughter Victoria,
Hmm.
who who isn't there. She doesn't show.
Okay.
So they're going to head on over to somebody else's. And they're kind of talking about what's going to happen next. So they get in the car and they're getting ready to go. So we'll pick up there. And then Phoebe just had a phone conversation with somebody that you don't really know what's going on. So she's a little distracted.
Okay. And Phoebe
Okay.
Phoebe is the art expert
Phoebe's
detective.
the, yes, yes. She's the
Okay.
detective and the art expert.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So maybe we can get a bite to eat soon. My stomach's rumbling. Rem headed down the walkways and back toward his car. Daniels followed. No Taco del Fuego, something lighter, please. How about a hot dog? Asked Rem. He walked through the lot. Daniels groaned. How about a salad? Rem reached the car and opened the door. You mean like lettuce on the hot dog? Rem slid into the front seat. Daniels got into the passenger seat and Reinhardt got into the back. No, said Daniels, like lots of lettuce in a bowl with other veggies and maybe some chicken or steak. Now, a steak I could go for. Rem started the car. What do you think, Reinhardt? He looked in the rearview mirror. You hungry? Reinhardt stared out the window. No, not really. Seeing she was still distracted, Rem buckled his seatbelt and backed out of the spot as Daniels punched in the address to Robert's place. What do you think about that expert coming to check that painting at LaRoche's tomorrow? Asked Rem. Do we still need him after what Maria told us? Reinhardt appeared to refocus. I think so. It never hurts to get a second opinion. Let's see what he has to say. I agree, said Daniels. Just because Maria says LaRoche stole from her doesn't mean she's telling the truth. Rem drove out of the lot. My uncle said LaRoche did the same to him, which corroborates her story. Then let's be sure, said Daniels. Maybe we should have him look at some of the other paintings while he's at LaRoche's. You never know what he might find. Rem turned onto the street. We should call Victoria. Let's find out why she isn't home. Daniels pulled out his phone. If she's lawyered up, she likely won't answer. One way to find out. Rem stopped at the corner and turned, heading back down the hill. He approached a four-way stop and hit the brakes. The car slowed slightly, but continued forward. Alarmed, he hit the brakes again, but his car sped through the intersection, narrowly missing a passing car, which blared its horn. Daniels lowered his phone. You just shot through the stop sign. Rem hit the brakes, but the car picked up speed. I know. Reinhardt sat forward. What's wrong? Slow down. Rem pumped the brakes several times, but his car raced forward. His heart rate zoomed and he gripped the steering wheel. Hold on, we've got no brakes. What? Daniels dropped his phone and put on his seatbelt. Buckle in, Reinhardt. Reinhardt cursed and sat back. Rem tried the brakes several times with no result and then shifted into a lower gear. The car jolted, slowed, but didn't stop. That they were on a road with a decline didn't help. He swore as they approached a red light, and he swerved around a slower car. Try the emergency brake, said Daniels, gripping the dash. Rem applied pressure to the emergency brake. The car groaned and slowed a little, but the red light was nearing. He pulled harder. There was a grinding sound, and the car's speed decreased only slightly, but then picked up again. He flipped on his red lights and hazards and started honking his horn. Hold on. They flew through the intersection just as one car drove past and a van entered it. It swerved and halted, and Rem narrowly missed its front bumper. Rem cursed loudly as the car picked up speed. I've got to get off this street. There, said Daniels, pointing to a grassy area just ahead and to the right of the road. Rem passed another car and moved over. Am I clear? Reinhardt yelled from the back. There's a jogger up ahead. Rem abruptly swerved back into the lane. He'd been so focused on getting off the road that he'd missed the jogger. The car swerved and his tires squealed, and Rem fought to keep control. If he lost it, they could flip and roll. He held the wheel and tried the emergency brake again, but it didn't help. Approaching another light at a busier intersection, he cursed again. Up ahead, said Daniels, there's a spot where you can pull off. Their speed increasing, Rem saw what Daniels was talking about and eyed the area for pedestrians. He saw a construction crew up ahead working on the side of the road. The busy intersection nearing fast, Rem knew he wouldn't make it safely across without endangering the construction crew. Out of time, he pulled the wheel to the right and braced. Hold on, he yelled again. The car swerved abruptly. The tires protested and slammed into the curb. The car bounced and hit the ground with a hard jerk, headed into a grassy section of rocky terrain, and bounced again. Rem fought to maintain control as the car raced forward toward a grove of trees. Rem swerved to avoid them, but their momentum and a dip in the ground caused the car to tip. Reinhardt shrieked, Daniels cursed, and Rem jerked the wheel, trying to stop the roll, but it was too late. The car flipped to its side, slid through the dirt, rolled over and onto its hood, and slammed into a tree. Rem's airbag deployed. The seatbelt pulled hard against his body, and the car came to an abrupt stop.
Oh,
I know. I'm not going to tell you anymore. You have to read the book.
Yeah, that was brilliant. See that I really loved that. I was totally in the car.
Yes. And that's sort of the way that's the way I see a scene. I see it visually in my head. So all I'm basically doing is typing out the scene I see in my head. What they're saying, how they're reacting, what they can see themselves on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of just what I write.
Yeah. And so is it a similar thing when you're writing conversation? Because I know that in a lot of your reviews, and I agree with this completely, people say that you're so good with conversation, you're so good with dialogue. I mean, particularly like we were saying before, particularly with Daniels and Ramallah, because they have this really established relationship. But even with new characters, even with the suspects, for example, the dialogue is really good, but then as they're talking, I mean, you always know who's talking because you're so good at creating the character. So how does that happen? How does that come out of here and end up in the book?
I know a lot of authors have told me that sometimes dialogue is very hard for them. They can't hear it in their head. And I'm lucky in that is easy for me. I can hear the dialogue so clearly in my head. I can hear the way they talk. I can hear the way they move and gesture, the way their faces look. And so I just basically transcribe. That's all I'm doing. I can hear it in my head. So it's interesting and it's fun and it comes very naturally to me. I have to be careful though, because I can just keep on going.
Yes.
So I have to okay, I don't need this much dialogue. I need to cut it back. And then I need to figure out where to cut it back and say just enough without saying too much.
Yeah.
So that's more my struggle is I love to kind of just keep on going and have people talk. But I also need to stop at a certain point because you don't need to hear everything.
That's true. Well, you get on with the plot. Get on
Love
with the
the plot.
story now.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you want for
Yeah.
breakfast? Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll have some coffee. Oh, you want some cream? Doc, I know, Judy. You don't have to put all that in.
That's quite interesting. So I guess one of the approaches that I've read about writing a character, because it sounds like you know your characters really well,
Yeah.
and so one of the techniques that I've read about the way to do that is to sort of interview your individual characters. And I just wondered, just as a quick aside, if you'd ever done anything like that, or are they just there?
No, I've never interviewed them. They're just there. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a couple of times where you have a character and you're not sure what you're going to do with them.
yeah,
And I just
yeah,
find that if I start writing them, they'll pop in and they'll get fleshed out.
yeah,
For the most part, it usually works out pretty well that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the Murder Unveiled is part of Daniels and Ramallah, and you have another kind of detective series,
Mhm.
the Redstone Chronicles, and that is more of a paranormal type of
Yes.
series.
Yes.
And that ties in a little bit more with how you got started
Yes.
as a writer in the first place. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your very first idea for your very first book, and where it came from and why, because a lot of us get ideas and we just think that's really interesting, and then we go do something
Right.
else. And
Right.
you had this great idea and thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a trilogy about this. So how did that happen? Why was it just an irresistible thing to write about?
Well, it was just one of those weird, because I have dabbled in writing my whole life, and
Hmm.
I would come up with ideas and start them and then never finish and put it away and stick it in a
Hmm.
drawer. And for
Hmm.
some reason, I just had this idea because I was thinking of a story of a woman with unique abilities who helps a civilization or a community that lives here on Earth that is
Hmm.
actually um, from another planet.
Hmm.
So they've lived on Earth, but you know, their their people are from somewhere else, another
Yes.
planet. But they live here among us, and nobody's the wiser. Um, so I kind of had an idea for what if their community was threatened, something was happening, they needed to be saved. And so I came up with an idea of a woman who was going through a shift, and provided she survived it, she could potentially be their savior and be able to provide whatever it is they need to survive. And so, of course, because of who she is, she's highly valued. So she needed somebody to protect her. So I came up with Sarah and Ramsey, and they became a love story. It was only going to be one book. It turned into three. That was not the plan. And I just knew when I started writing, I was like, you know what? I think this is something really good. And for whatever reason, I didn't put it down. I didn't put it away. I just kept going. And once I got
Hmm.
going and started the book, it was like it was on fire. I couldn't stop writing it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's kind of where it all got started. And then once
Okay.
those three books were written, I couldn't really leave the characters behind. So I created a sister series
Hmm.
to the Red Line trilogy, and that's called the
Hmm.
Fletcher Family Saga. So there's
Okay.
really like a whole thing going on here, like seven full books that deals with these people, and it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun writing it.
Uh, well, that's fantastic. Well, I know this Murder Unveiled is your 25th book, and
Yes,
you've also written three
three
novellas.
novellas.
And so, so could you kind of break those down into series for us and tell us? So the first two, there's the Red Line series,
Yeah,
and then there's the Fletcher family saga.
correct.
And so then what happens after that?
So after I finished the Fletcher Family Saga, I kind of threw in a fun little character that we don't know much about, and I threw her into a new series. And I knew then I wanted to write like a mystery thriller, serial killer kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I created a brand new character, a woman who has a psychic connection to the serial killer, who has been taunting her and stalking her. And then, of course, she's going to need. He starts up his crimes in a new city, and so here come detectives Daniels and Ramallah. So this is the very first time they are introduced.
Okay.
That's where they show up because they're hunting this serial killer, and they need this woman's help to find him. So that is the first book of what I call the family or foe saga. And it does basically focus on the story of Jill Jacobs. She's the woman who has the psychic connection.
Okay.
And then from there, I created the next three books. They're Second Slice, Third Blow, and Fourth Strike. And they all kind of continue the story.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got through that, I was just like, Daniels and Ramallah have to have their own series. There's just no way I cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was
So,
true. They just
yeah,
were so, yeah.
yeah, they were dynamic.
Yeah.
They were fun. I loved writing them, and I love the aspect of the paranormal too, because there is paranormal
Mm-hmm.
in that family or foe saga.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I wrote Haunted River, and that kicked off Daniels and Ramallah.
Mm-hmm.
So they go off to a cabin and hunt for a killer. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, the house is haunted, so you're gonna have all sorts of fun little things that happen. And then it just went from there. So then I wrote the next. I've been writing Daniels and Ramallah, and in the next book of Breath and Blood, I introduced the characters, the Redstones.
Mm-hmm.
And Mason Redstone is a former Texas Ranger who's now a paranormal investigator and a medium. And his
Yes.
sister Mikey, they work together. So they get introduced, and because they're so cool, they became the Redstone
Yeah.
Chronicles. So now they have their own series.
Yeah.
And then there's a relationship between Ramallah and Mikey. So they're interconnected. They're a sort of spin-off crossover. And that's where I am now. Then I did three novellas. I did A Hamburger Christmas, which is like a little Christmas novella,
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Ramallah. There's also Magic of Murder.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's The Girl in the Gunshot, and that is available. It's a free novella available to my subscribers to my newsletter. And they're all
Yeah.
Daniels and Ramallah.
Yeah. And
That's
so
where I am.
that's where you are now. So with just to say quickly about the Redstone Chronicles, how well, first of all, for those of you who don't know Judy is from Texas, so she
Yeah.
knows about these things.
Yeah.
She knows about the Texas Rangers.
Yes, I do.
And so in that series, what is their main kind of job? What do they do? They're sort of a detective agency.
Yes, he's a private investigator.
Okay.
He obviously Mason, and he had a partner named Trick when they were in the Rangers. But Mason had a paranormal gift. He could, talk to dead people. So he decided to pursue that instead, and he moved to California. And
Mm-hmm.
Mikey came with him. And there's a whole story there. And that's eventually in a case that Rem and Daniels are investigating. They go to Mason to get help to understand what is going on
Mm-hmm.
with the person they're seeking.
Mm-hmm.
So Mason gets involved. They meet Mikey, and there's a connection between them and the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so once that sort of blossomed, then I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to have the Redstones and their private investigative agency handle their own cases?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're much more paranormal centered because they go after all kinds of interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
Rem and Daniels have paranormal as well, but it's a little bit less. It's just sort of an edge of it, a little edge of paranormal. They go
Yes.
after people who do some interesting things. Whereas Mason and Trick and Mikey, because Trick eventually comes to California too. And so they have a fun partnership. They go after things that are a little bit more unexpected.
Yeah, like what's in the woods?
Like what's in the woods kind of thing, or things that are, chasing them or haunting them, that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more. If you like your paranormal, you'll like the Redstone.
Yeah, they're wonderful. I love those.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. So can you tell us what you're working on now and where we can find your books?
Yes. Well, I sell on Amazon, and I'm on Kindle Unlimited. And I've got paperbacks and hardbacks. One of these days I'll have audio if I can ever get around to it. But yeah, it's all on Amazon right now. You can go to my website at jtbishopauthor.com, and it'll give you all the scoop on my books and my series and the chronological order of them. I just finished the next book in the Redstone Chronicles.
Ooh.
It's called Lost Time. Hopefully it will be out in May. And it's a fun one because Mason and Mikey and Trick all returned to Texas to look for Mason and Mikey's missing father. So I had some fun Texas stuff. So,
yes, excellent. We're having margaritas and enchiladas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, and then after that, I'm going to be working on Illusions, which is the next book in the Daniels and Ramallah story.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
And if people want to keep up with you and all of these amazing books, so you are on
Yeah.
TikTok and you are here on Instagram, of course, and you're also
Instagram,
on Facebook,
Facebook. Yep,
and
that's
it's
where.
all the same, JT Bishop author.
Yes, that's how you can find me. Yep, very
Yeah,
easy.
and YouTube, you are on YouTube as
I
well?
have a YouTube channel. I don't have much on it, but I'm
Okay,
working on it. But yes, I
okay,
am on YouTube as well.
okay. And you also have a newsletter, so people can go to your website, sign up for the newsletter, and get all
Yes,
your updates and
yes,
freebies. You always offer these fantastic
yes.
freebies.
There's obviously I mentioned a free novella. Sort of it's a prequel for Daniels and Ramallah, so it's a fun one to read. And then when I finished Murder Unveiled, I'm offering a bonus scene. So if you've read the book, you'll understand what the bonus scene is about. So you'll get that also if you subscribe. Plus excerpts. There's a short story to redline the shift. There's all kinds of good stuff in there if you join my newsletter.
Fantastic. Well, I am so excited, and congratulations on the publication of Murder Unveiled. It's a fantastic book, and I'm so excited to see everybody, getting this book
Yes,
and reading it and enjoying it as much
I'm
as
excited.
I did.
Thank,
So
thank you
congratulations.
so much. This has been
Yes.
fun.
It's been really fun. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll do this again soon. Maybe
We
do
will.
this again in May.
Yeah, we'll do it again and again when Lost Time comes out.
Yes.
Sounds
And for
good.
anybody if anybody's joining us just now, we're going to be posting this entire conversation on Judy's page so you can catch up later. So,
Oh, thanks, Christine. She's one of my best friends, and she's my beta reader. Love her. Hi. She just sent a comment.
fantastic. Okay,
All
so
right.
thank you very much, Judy, and
Thank you,
we will
Gwen.
see you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks again. Bye, everybody.
okay, bye.